Welcome to Maritime Matters, a podcast focused on leaders in the maritime market, the people, the companies, the technologies that are making and breaking the news, helping to lead the maritime industry to a safer, more efficient, more profitable, and cleaner future. Welcome aboard. Welcome to Maritime Matters, the Marine Link podcast. I'm your host, Greg Troutwine, editor and publisher of Maritime Reporter and Engineering News for more than 30 years. Our guest today is Bob Lennon, the industry manager, Senta, a Regal Rexnord brand that has a long and storied business in marine couplings, to discuss the advent of hybrid propulsion solutions across maritime with insights on their engineering impact for the entire drivetrain. Bob, as I mentioned, I've been in this business for about 3 decades, and I know the Senta name very well. But as we've seen, there's been a massive amount of consolidations across all maritime companies. I guess to start us off, the best way that I believe that we could start off, if you would provide some context here, specifically a look at the long history of the Senta brand and what I like to call my Christmas Carol approach: Senta's past, Senta's present, and if you can delve into it, Senta's future.
So the company was started in 1970. German engineer, a gentleman named Gerhard Kirschei. And Gerhard was working on a project with one of the diesel engine manufacturers to make a centrifugal clutch that could be put on the flywheel of the diesel engine, run the engine at idle speed, disconnect the load. With the coupling elements of the day, Gerhard couldn't get the clutch to operate. So he came up with a patent for our basic rubber element, Senaflex Series A. First company patent, pre-compressed rubber in compression. He was able to put that element then into the design of a clutch. And the first company product, Senta Start V, was literally a centrifugal clutch for diesel engine driven equipment. Name of the company, Senta, derived from that first product, centrifugal. And 1970 launched. Gerhard found a really good niche in engine-driven equipment. So the early years of the company was more industrial focused, came up with a few more patents and got into, diesel engine-driven pumps, and then diesel engine-driven hydraulics came on the scene, construction equipment. So we came up with a couple of patents there, and we did a number of years global leadership in things like hydraulic excavators, road paving equipment. The construction market started to use diesel engine and hydraulics for a lot of their powertrain, and Senta found a global leadership role there pretty early. Years going by, crept into some stuff in terms of power generation, pretty similar application, an engine driving a two-bearing generator now. Commercial power, primary standby power. We also crept into wind power pretty early on. Had a few years where we had a really good market share in the land-based wind turbines, maybe up to about 2 megawatt. And then a few years in, bigger engine drives, and marine propulsion became a natural for the next market evolution. A few more patents over the years, and built out a fantastic portfolio of both marine propulsion and power takeoff couplings. Coming into probably the early 1990s, Gerhard then innovated carbon fiber, and he patented a method to bond carbon fiber to steel. And we hit a really good one with high-speed ferries, aluminum catamaran vessels, and ultra lightweight carbon fiber shafting. So the business really blossomed. Marine propulsion became a big part of it. And then you crept into the world of, EPA and the Europeans with lower emission, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, engines becoming more torsionally active. And our business just through the 2000s really took off. Built up to the point where we were about just under 500 global employees. And the Kirschei family, the two boys running the business. I think there were 9 daughter companies. We got into our own rubber production with a joint venture, a couple of global licensee agreements. And then 2018, The business was sold to Rexnord. Rexnord, a well-known brand in mechanical power transmission. They had a little space in marine. They had the legacy Falk. The Falk marine transmissions were part of our portfolio. And, bearings and couplings and gearboxes for industrial drives. So 2018 acquisition, Rexnord. Come up to 2021, and Rexnord merged with a company called Regal Beloit, another Wisconsin company. And Regal Beloit brought more portfolio, more brands, not only mechanical power transmission, gearboxes, bearings, etc., but electric motors. Shortly after that, last year, we then did an acquisition of another company group called Ultra. So present state, in the last few years, a lot of merger, a lot of acquisition, but the Regal Rexnord brand today is over 70 individual market-leading brands, mechanical and electrical, power transmission, motion control, automation, conveying, really cover a great gamut of markets. And, the Senta being a key in marine propulsion and power generation, and even still off-highway construction equipment and agriculture. A couple other brands that came into the mix with the acquisitions and the mergers. We've got the Guardian product, a company out of Michigan City, Indiana. Good position in off-highway construction equipment, diesel hydrostatics. And then another German coupling brand, Stromag, came in with the Ultra acquisition. And Stromag's got some fantastic technology in clutches and brakes. Plays into hybrid drives for us for future technology. Group out of Spain that came along with Regal called Yare. Yare's got a fantastic global presence in drive shafts and couplings, thruster drives, water jets. So we've really built a fantastic group here. We're New York Stock Exchange. We're 7 point something billion in annual revenue, 35,000 plus employees. So it's been a ton of fun. You joked about 3 decades. It dawned on me recently. I think I've now clipped through 4. Went by in a blink of an eye, but it's been a lot of fun to see the transition of the company. The future, who knows? But Regal Rexnord's got a real vision on not only, product innovation is important, sustainability is a big part of the mission, and that's the way the markets want to go. Everybody wants to be greener, everybody wants to be more environmentally responsible, and I think we've got a great platform here to build on that for many years to come.
It's wild. And, Bob, I love these conversations because you're a font of information, not just about your company, but about the industry as well. And it is funny, actually, those 30/40 years tend to go very quick because I very well remember the first time that I joined this company. My first event was the SMM in Hamburg, Germany in 1992. And I went over there, and there was a group of British journalists that were, dominant in the field. And I remember walking into the press conferences, and I'm like, look at all these old guys. And then probably fast track to that about 2018, before the pandemic shut us down. I was over at an event, and I walked into the same type of press conference, and I looked around. And I'm like, uh-oh, I'm the old guy. Means everybody there looked like they could be. Everybody looked like they could be my kid. So, Bob, that's interesting. Can you, I appreciate that overview. When can you give us a little, I guess, of your background? You've been in this business almost 40 years, like you said, or a little over 40 years. How long have you been with the company? Can you just give me kind of a walkthrough of your experience in this business?
Yeah, I was laughing as you were talking because I followed my father into this. I'm second
Okay.
generation.
Oh, wow.
Never had a clue I'd do this my entire career, but I'm glad I
Yeah.
did. My dad, when I was a young guy, had been in mechanical power transmission, retired Marine, and he took up as sales manager for a company in Aberdeen, South Dakota, a company called Hub City. Interestingly enough, a current Regal Rexnord brand. But then Dad transitioned down to a company called Lovejoy here in Chicago, vice president of sales. And at that time, Lovejoy and Senta were forming their global licensee agreement. Um, my dad and oldest brother a few years later, formed a rep agency, 1975 or 6, mechanical power transmission products, and they have the Lovejoy brand as their lead line. So they're covering the north central United States as reps. I'm going to college in the early 80s, decided to chase a mechanical engineering degree, no clue what I wanted to do. And my dad got me summer work at Lovejoy in Downers Grove as a machinist. So I'm spending summers and breaks running machine tools, punching bores and keyways, drilling out set screws, all the time thinking, yeah, maybe I'll stay in college. I'll finish my degree. I think that was his motive. But I graduated in 85, I think, and just joined the rep firm right out of college. So my dad's taken me to trade shows, Chicago McCormick Place, the big mechanical power transmission show. And just like you said, I'm looking at all these old guys, but all this really cool equipment.
Yeah.
Going, hey, this isn't bad. Started making sales calls with Dad. Caterpillar was a big account of ours early on. And just never looked back. I did the rep thing for about 23 years. Ton of fun, met a lot of great people. And then in 2005, some friends of mine had started Senate Corporation, the U.S. division. Lovejoy and Senta parted ways. So I had the opportunity to join Senate Corp as VP of Sales about 2005, and just helped and watched that company grow until we were acquired by Rexnord in 2018. Currently serve a role as industry manager is kind of the term, but I'm the subject matter expert. I do business development work. I'm here in our Milwaukee headquarters for a few days this week doing training for some young sales engineers. And like you said, all of a sudden it's 40 years gone. So it's been a lot of fun. Been a great trip.
Regal Rexnord's 30,000 global associates work to create a better tomorrow by providing sustainable solutions that power, transmit, and control motion. With a comprehensive portfolio of highly engineered power transmission components and subsystems, Regal Rexnord engineers design efficient and long-lasting solutions across a variety of industries, including factory automation, food and beverage, aerospace, data centers, warehouses, metals and mining, and of course, marine propulsion. Regal Rexnord is headquartered in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and has manufacturing, sales, and service facilities worldwide. For more information, visit regalrexnord.com. So, Bob, again, I appreciate that personal background. I appreciate the corporate background. Let's kind of look at Senta today and into the future, I guess, because, everywhere we look and everything we're talking about now, we're talking about energy transition. You're talking about hybrid propulsion solutions. And undoubtedly, this is going to last for a long time because obviously, oil and gas, is here to stay for a while. There is a transition going on right now, but there is an increasing push towards the hybrid solutions. Um, there is, of course, no single definition of hybrid, but can you discuss how the advent of various hybrid propulsion solutions are impacting the drivetrain as a whole? And what is your team? What can you just kind of relay some of the conversations that your team are having with clients today in regards to hybrid systems and its impact on the drivetrain?
Yeah, it's a great topic. And it's funny again to think back over the years because you and I might have first crossed paths in the early conferences when they first started talking about EPA, Tier 2, Tier 3, and oh my God, someday we got to hit Tier 4. And the engine guys in the room all groaned and said, how are we going to get there? And the industry did it. I was sitting at a conference recently, and now you're talking about, hybrid and alternative fuels and hydrogen fuel cells and battery, the eWolf is running, battery boats are running. And one guy in the room raises his hand and says, what the heck's wrong with my Tier 4 final engine? You guys told me to get a Tier 4 final engine. And the room kind of chuckled. I don't think anybody knows what that future looks like, but hybrid is going to be a transition phase technology, my opinion. Alternative fuel is probably something that'll stick around, but I don't think they know what that's going to look like yet. And even the hybrid isn't defined because everybody's trying to do it a little bit differently. Senate Corp was actually involved. I forgot the year, 2006, 7 maybe. But you might remember Foss building the first hybrid tugboats out in California there, the Carol and
Absolutely.
Dorothy. And then they did a retrofit of a second boat, maybe the Campbell, I can't recall. But Senta was a big part of that project with the propulsion integration team. They took a diesel engine, they put a clutch on the flywheel with a Senta coupling. We made a little shaft, and then they dropped a motor generator inline in that shaft. Loaded the boat with batteries, variable frequency drives, power conversion, lots of wires, and they tried it. And they had some success with it. They learned a lot. And how many years ago again was that? We were trying to get to hybrid. You go to the shows today, and hybrid has different definitions because some people with the gearbox, they'll put a PTO, PTI motor generator on the gearbox drive. You can use that to pull power out, charge batteries, or you can use it as a propulsion adjunct with or without your main propulsion engine. Some people are putting it on the back. I've seen Z drives with a PTO, PTI motor. Again, we did one of the first boats. I think it was built by Bay Delta at Nichols, maybe. Forgot the name of the vessel, but they put a couple 100 kilowatt motor on the Z drive for PTO, PTI hybrid. So what's it going to look like in the future? I'm not sure. I don't think there's an argument that we don't know how to create anything as power dense yet as internal combustion and diesel fuel. But they're trying. That's where alternative fuel technology is starting to blossom. A few years ago, again at the conferences, everybody was talking LNG. We're going to be LNG in 5 years. And now they've kind of moved on. There's LNG out there for sure, no doubt, great fuel. But now I go to conferences and I hear them talking about ammonia. And yeah, it's all over the country. Your farmer next door has an anhydrous ammonia tank. So fuel bunkering, handling, transportation, we've got ammonia figured out. But what does that do in the cylinder of the engine? What's its burn capacity? What's its ability to create torque? So the future, I don't think they know what it's going to look like. But I think we'll transition through hybrid and make our way to alternative fuels. And then someday we'll all end up driving around little cars like the Jetsons. And what that's going to be fueled by, who knows? But hybrid's here. It's real. And, a lot of us are figuring out how to deal with it right now.
Are there any particular problems that you've been seeing in terms of alignment, whether that's on install, whether that's on after years of running? Are there any? I guess I don't want to say tips or tricks, but are there any issues that you've seen that Senta and Regal Rexnord are able to help solve?
In terms of just system alignment, mechanically making sure everything's lined up, it's a long-standing discussion. We have it daily with customers. The coupling guys, ourselves included, like to say that we make products that are highly flexible. But in terms of installation, Mr. Shipyard, the millwright folks, and our manuals, I want you to align as close to zero as you can get that equipment. And today the guys are getting good. They're using lasers. They're paying attention to it. There are some fantastic third-party groups in the industry that specialize in alignment, specialize in vibration. So yeah, that's a regular topic of discussion for us. I will always be a guy to preach near zero, near perfect alignment at installation, and let those components give compensation for operation, for shock load, for whatever things the vessel may encounter.
To wrap up, can you give a concise overview? I put 60 seconds or less, but I'll give you 90 seconds. A bullet list of advice that you're delivering to your clients today, the do's and don'ts of what you consider, of what to consider when building out a hybrid propulsion solution to help ensure that it has a good, long, efficient life.
Yeah, maybe I'll take 95 seconds and two big points, but let's go back to hybrid. As the torsional coupling supplier, myself or anybody, What we're going to ask you for is as early in that project as you can, get the experts engaged. Work with the best, work with people that know what they're doing and have success under their belt. Because there's a lot of unknowns. And from our perspective, I need to know all these components that you're putting onto the drivetrain. I need their mass, their inertia, their stiffness. But most important, I need the operating conditions. The power and the speed. When are you going to be taking it from here? Engine. When are you going to be taking it here from motor? And what are the combinations of those scenarios? Because all of those operating modes have a really important influence in that torsional vibration calculation and the results of the calculation. The second side of that, when you got that boat about done and you're doing sea trial, get an expert on board. Get somebody on the boat that can instrument the powertrain and measure not only the torsional response, but the torque. Are you creating the torque you thought you were? And the lateral motions, the displacements, X, Y, Z stuff. Measure that data, compare it back to your calculations, and validate if you were on target or not. You'll learn a lot because there's a lot of unknowns going into these drives today. The second side of it, my preach, is back to that maintenance side and alignment. Plan your maintenance cycles carefully. Everybody knows when they're going into dock for an engine overhaul, repower, but it's inevitable that somebody then starts taking off guards around rotating equipment and they go, oh, gee, I need a coupling. So, again, myself, the competitors, I don't care who, we get the phone call of, I need it now. And, oh, by the way, the vessel's ABS, so I need that surveyed. I need a certificate with it. Plan your dry docking and your maintenance cycles carefully. Look at the rotating equipment. Capture your drawings, class certificates if appropriate, and have all this stuff ready to go. We've got a great distribution network around the country. Work with a local distributor. Have them carry critical spares. So if something breaks, you've got it local. But work with those distribution partners around your maintenance cycles. Plan it accordingly, and let us keep out of being in panic situations with delivery, frankly, of a lot of product that comes out of Europe. So that's my preach. Thank you.
Good preach. You might have gone over 95 seconds, but that's quite okay. Communicate well and plan. I think that's good for a lot of things in life. So, Bob, it's truly a pleasure. I again, like you said, I know we probably knocked around early in the early days, but we've seen each other quite a few times, and I truly appreciate your insights. Look forward to working with you and your team in the future as well.
Greg, thanks. It's been a lot of fun. Pleasure to have joined you today.
Thank you for listening to Maritime Matters. If you would like to be featured on a future Maritime Matters podcast, visit www.marinelink.com or email maritimematters@marinelink.com.